Welcome to Trial Site News Weekly Roundup. My name is Adrian, and I will be going over some of our top news stories from this past week. Please click on the subscribe button and ring the bell to be notified of future videos. To start our weekly roundup, we'll be covering trial monitoring. Up to 30% of investigator-initiated trials do not have any trial monitoring, and this has been called out as a real compliance risk by the team at USC. The Trojan researchers have identified the challenge and have creatively and intelligently addressed this gap by developing a well-thought-out and comprehensive self-study module. This can be used to cross-train academic researchers in essential concepts and practical approaches to monitoring. They have produced an incredibly useful core set of information that is easily accessible, free, and provides a really decent overview to the vocational certainty associated with clinical monitoring. So along the same vein, quality and safety are of paramount concern for any clinical research program. The University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center is the latest Houston hospital to come under federal investigation after reporting an adverse event involving a blood transfusion in December of 2018 to the FDA. In an official email to the Houston Chronicle, a representative for MD Anderson states, and I quote, "We have policies and procedures in place to protect our patients. However, in rare instances, severe reactions occur. The transfusion of blood and blood products from human to human carries inherent risks, from mild to severe. Although MD Anderson remains a CMS participant, they are, however, according to the Houston Business Journal, still under federal and state scrutiny until it regains CMS compliance." And on a more sobering note, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has issued a safety alert for fecal transplant procedures. This came after 2 immune-compromised patients contracted drug-resistant infections. The patients received transplants from the same donor and, unfortunately, one of the patients died. Consequently, the New York Times reported that the FDA plans to suspend clinical trials involving this procedure. Now to cancer-related news. Australian researchers are utilizing a new photodynamic cancer drug called IVXPO2 to kill ovarian cancer cells in petri dishes. Apparently, when IVXPO2 is exposed to light beams of a certain length, it becomes toxic to cancer cells. This could make surgery pills and injections a thing of the past. We look forward to the next steps from Invian, the company behind IVXPO2, and the Australian researcher team. Meanwhile, a drummer for an American metal band Poison, Mr. Rocket, visited his primary care doctor in 2015 for a sore throat, reports blabbermouth.net. After finding a tumor on the base of his tongue, Rocket learned he had human papillomavirus, or HPV-related oral cancer. He then endured 9 rounds of chemotherapy and 37 sessions of radiation therapy. And, although it initially worked, the cancer came back some months later, spreading, unfortunately, to his lymph nodes. Now, Rocket then visited UCSD Moore's Cancer Center Dr. Ezra Cohen, who helped him enroll in a clinical trial of pembrolizumab Merck's Keytruda. His tumor immediately responded, and in just 2 months into the trial, a scan revealed that the tumor had shrunk by 90%. Today, Rocket is cancer-free and continues to play with his band Poison. Now, onto the diabetes news front. Today, there are up to 30 million in the United States that struggle with type 2 diabetes. In many cases, they are at risk for cardiovascular and kidney problems. In a study led by McMaster University, Eli Lilly's dulaglutide Trulicity reduced cardiovascular events and kidney problems in middle-aged and older folks with type 2 diabetes. During the more than 5 years of follow-up, cardiovascular events such as heart attacks and strokes were reduced by 12% in people taking dulaglutide compared with a placebo. The Eli Lilly drug reduced the development of kidney disease by 15%. Now, during the study, dulaglutide was well tolerated and moderately reduced weight as well as low-density lipoprotein, cholesterol, and blood pressure, as well as moderately increased heart rate. Side effects did include, however, gastrointestinal issues such as constipation or diarrhea, which were reported more than with the placebo. Now, continuing on our diabetic trend. Novo Nordisk has reported that its oral semaglutide medicine showed non-inferiority compared to placebo in major adverse cardiovascular events during the Pioneer 6 clinical trial in type 2 diabetes patients. Pioneer 6 met the endpoint with a hazard ratio of 0.79 in favor of semaglutide compared to the placebo. The data is an aggregation of 137 first major adverse cardiovascular events and a median follow-up of 16 months. Meanwhile, in patients with type 2 diabetes and kidney disease, the risk of kidney failure and cardiovascular events was lower in the canagliflozin group than in the placebo group at a median follow-up of 2.62 years. So, according to the CDC, an estimated 38% of the reported causes of end-stage kidney disease in the United States is caused by diabetes, reports Diabetes in Control. Now, due to the positive results of the Credence study, the American Diabetes Association, or the ADA, updated its standards of medical care in diabetes. For more on this report, please visit our website at trialsitenews.com. Switching gears now to autism-related news. Phoenix Children's Hospital received $1 million to study if leucovorin helps autistic children. Richard E. Fry, MD, PhD, professor of neurology at Phoenix Children's Hospital, is the principal investigator and recipient of these grants. Both of the grants will be used by Dr. Fry to test the effectiveness of leucovorin, a folinic acid. More than 80 patients ages 2 to 5 with ASD will enroll in the Autism Speak study over the course of 3 years. Leucovorin is also used to treat people who have accidentally received an overdose of methotrexate or similar medication. Hence, it is an investigational for purposes of the study. On a side note, what is leucovorin? It is approved by the FDA to prevent harmful effects of methotrexate, Rumitrex, Trexol, cancer, chemotherapy, medication, etc. When methotrexate is used to treat certain types of cancer, leucovorin is also used to treat people who have accidentally received an overdose of methotrexate or similar medications. Now, turning to asthma. Study results from the George Institute of Global Health and the Woolcock Institute of Medical Research at UNSW Sydney call for urgent interventions to exceedingly high asthma medicine prices in Australia. Out-of-pocket costs are preventing many people from taking viral asthma medicine, reports the Economic Times. Worldwide, at least 1 in 10 asthma patients globally lives in India, and the prices for relevant medicines in that country exceed those of tuberculosis and HIV/AIDS combined. Whether in Australia, India, or the United States, something desperately needs to be done about drug prices. We are not doing well on this front. And finally, SanfordHealth brings innovative new medicines to the Great Northern Plains of the United States, including both Dakotas. SanfordHealth led a rotator cuff trial utilizing the cells taken from the participants' own abdominal fat. By the end of 2018, study sponsor Ingeneron Inc. reported positive results that the company's autologous point-of-care cell therapy is safe and well tolerated. Sponsor Ingeneron has selected Dr. Jason Hurd to serve as principal investigator, as a new study has a target of 246 participants. The sponsor has also included a contract research organization, or CRO, called PRC Clinical to help manage the study, which is scheduled for completion in November of 2020. SanfordHealth will use up to 30 locations in Sioux Falls and Fargo, North Dakota. Do you have any clinical news you'd like us to report on? If so, let us know. Contact information is in the box below. Thank you for joining us for this week's Trial Site News Roundup.